Now, my dad's a realtor. He's been selling real estate for 47 years.
Amazing.
And he said to me all through my high school years, all through university, whatever you do not become a realtor. In 2001, I got engaged and decided, okay, I need to have a career pretty fast. Finished university. I said, Dad, let me try real estate. He's like, okay, I'll give you 6 months, then go do something else. Made a sale on my first day, and I never looked back.
You were hooked. Hello, everybody. This is the Winning in Winnipeg podcast, where I talk to top performing business owners, executives, entrepreneurs, and local Winnipeg celebrities. I get to learn who they are and how they think, and I get to hear their perspective about what's really going on in Winnipeg and in their businesses. Today on the podcast, we have Akash Bedi. Akash is one of the most prominent realtors, brokers in Winnipeg real estate game. Akash started as a realtor in 2003, and he has since become an owner of 2 REMAX executive offices. I believe that's still current.
It is.
He's the current president of the Winnipeg Regional Real Estate Board and is the director of the Manitoba Real Estate Association. He pretty much runs the show. I have a tumultuous relationship with realtors. However, I have always respected and admired Akash for the results he gets and the work he puts in. I've learned a lot from him over the years, and now you get to as well. Akash, thanks for being in the studio.
Thank you for having me. And one minor correction. I'm the immediate past president of the Winnipeg Regional Real Estate Board, and I'm a past director of the Manitoba Real Estate Association.
I left out one word. Yeah, twice, I suppose. But nonetheless, you have been at the highest positions there when it comes to your position. So my first question, and really it's not as formal as questions. We can really talk about anything. But the big thing, what's the biggest difference? And I want to clarify this for the audience. What's the biggest difference between a realtor, a broker, an office owner, and if there's any other in there that kind of engulf the world of real estate?
Sure. So let's just start with a realtor. And right now there's 2,400 realtors in Manitoba. Basically, you're a licensed salesperson. You take 4 courses or 3 courses and a 1 in-person course. And the Manitoba Securities Commission says you can sell real estate, residential, commercial, whatever it is. A broker is somebody who has more licensing, so more education, more training, more responsibility. And to become an owner of an office or to become the head person of a brokerage, you have to be a broker. You can be an owner of an office as an investor, but to have respect of your agents and to give guidance and advice, you have to be a broker.
You should probably know what you're doing.
Yeah, you should probably know what you're doing. Yeah,
that helps.
Yeah. And anybody can be an owner of an office. So you can buy a franchise, but for any franchise, you have to have a broker of record, somebody to kind of put people in their place and to deal with fires. Okay,
that's fair. And I imagine that it is not short of any fires.
Oh, daily, you ought to see my to-do list.
Yeah,
it's pretty long.
How many realtors do you have in each brokerage?
So total of 117 realtors.
Holy.
Yeah. And so the numbers fluctuate, right? Yeah. Some people leave, some people join us. Yeah. And if you kind of look at the 2 locations, it's about a 50-50 split.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So give me a little background about you, how you got into it, what you did before 2003, and we'll go from there.
Sure. So I guess funny story. My educational background is I have a BSc in biochemistry.
I can see how you became a realtor.
And then I also have a BA in sociology.
Okay.
I was in university for a couple of years and my goal was to become a doctor.
Okay.
I went through the MCATs, got an interview, couldn't make it. And from there, now my dad's a realtor. He's been selling real estate for 47 years.
Amazing.
And he said to me all through my high school years, all through university, whatever you do not become a realtor. In 2001, I got engaged and decided, okay, I need to have a career pretty fast. Finished university. I said, Dad, let me try real estate. He's like, okay, I'll give you 6 months, then go do something else. Made a sale on my first day, and I never looked back.
You were hooked.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
How long after you started did it take for you to feel comfortable?
Honestly, is 5 years.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Everybody I talked to when I became a realtor, they said, if you last a year, you'll be good. It took about 5 years to really learn the business, understand, and get your boots on the ground.
Yeah.
You know, you're excited when you graduate and when you get that license, you just want to sell and make money, but you have to realize this is a relationship business first and foremost.
Yeah. One thing that I've learned, I wouldn't say the hard way, but it's taken me a while, is that networking and relationships is pretty much every business. Yeah. Like it makes things so much easier. The momentum you get just from knowing people, unless you're a complete asshole, right?
Well, you know, and to that effect, yeah. I have some members in my office. I sign their checks. They do very well. They have no personality, but they have a system. So to be successful as a realtor, yeah, you have to have systems in place, which include marketing, include, networking and negotiating, and of course, knowing what you're doing.
Yeah.
But a large part is, like you said, networking, having a great referral network, and being personable.
Yeah.
There's 3 things in real estate: is know, like, and trust. That's how you build a brand and a business, right? So they're going to know you from referrals, from some of your marketing. They're going to like you when they meet you, right? They're going to see the personality. How do you make them feel? Are you taking care of their needs? Are you listening?
Yeah.
And trust. Trust comes with successful, with proven results, with a brand behind you, like my company, REMAX, right? So know, like, and trust are 3 key things.
Yeah. I always tell everyone that we deal with is that trust is created through small actions over time.
Right.
Right. And so just it ties into integrity as far as doing what you say you're going to do. And then trust becomes this long form, consistent game of integrity. And I find that, if you can even start out with small little things for people and just getting your foot in the door and doing what you're going to say and saying what you're going to do, those kind of things, and just consistently, that creates trust so much faster than if you come in just demanding it or something like that. So
it's very important. You're right. Trust is very important. People can smell commission breath a mile away.
I know. Okay? That's a tough part about realty in general, right?
For any self-employed commission-based salesperson, I mean, you eat what you kill, quote unquote, right? And if you don't make the sale, you don't earn.
Yeah.
So there's some agents, some realtors, they have commission breath, and you can smell it a mile away, or any salesperson where they just want the sale and they're gone.
Yeah.
Right? So that has to come second. You do a good job for somebody, you give them good service, you become memorable, right? If you're detailed, you listen to their needs, you follow through, you put a strategy together, the money will come, right? I mean, your commission is the successful result of the sale at the end of the day.
Yeah. I think when I'm hearing that, I mean, I could probably put that into any business, that advice. So I'll preface this next thing first with saying that I think 80% of all professions, there are just garbage people that don't care. I think it's even higher in my profession, in builders. Like, it's just even higher than 80% are garbage, or, don't care, or don't take care of their clients. They're not trustworthy, stuff like that. Why is it that realtors, and maybe it's just me, because I've dealt with them as an investor, as a builder, as, someone that's bought and sold a lot of houses. Why is it that I dislike so many realtors?
It's a good point. And this, you're not the first person to raise this with me. So when I was the president of the real estate board of Winnipeg Regional Real Estate Board, I'd get those calls from members of the public saying, hey, I just had a bad experience with somebody. And I'll say, sure, what happened? And I'll hear it out. As a broker and a manager of my brokerage, I get those calls. Yeah. The ethics are very important of a realtor or of any salesperson, right? At the end of the day, if you're not there to serve the needs and do your fiduciary duty to your client, your buyer or your seller, if you know something that's important to them and you fail to disclose, yeah, you should have your license pulled.
Right.
Absolutely. The level of integrity, the level of professionalism, it's waned out there. It's definitely changed. And you see a dichotomy. There's some realtors that are really professional. I can trust them with my eyes closed. Yep. And there's some that as soon as I see a name, I will question everything. I'll be like, you know what? I want to check the signatures because I don't think they're genuine.
Crazy.
I have to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that is a training issue? Do you think that is inherent to the profession in general? Or like, how do you teach it? How do you teach ethics? How do you teach morals? You know?
And that's a good question. So to become a realtor, you have to abide by the realtor code. To call yourself a realtor, you're a member of the Canadian Real Estate Association. So we have organized real estate.
Yeah.
They're the CREA, the Manitoba Real Estate Association, and Winnipeg Regional Real Estate Board. They're very, very particular. They're there to protect the public.
Yeah.
Right. So if there's some wrongdoing, reach out to them. Okay. If you feel like you were quote unquote ripped off, if you were misled, misrepresented, absolutely. There's checks and balances in place.
Okay.
To answer your question about ethics, if somebody's a bad person, you'll never change it. You could teach them all you want.
Yeah.
Majority of our industry is good. Yeah. Majority of our industry follows the rules. Majority of the industry does not. They don't want to have their name plastered on a website as doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Right. Good people and bad people will always be there.
Yeah. Well, I've always liked that thing is there's no ethics in business ethics. There's only ethics, right? So how people live their life is probably going to be exactly how they operate in business, right?
They're married.
That's right.
And you're on when you're on and on when you're off. Right?
Yeah.
The camera's still on you.
That's right.
And we teach our realtors that, conduct unbecoming. If you're out having a great time, enjoy yourself, but please be aware that you're still in the public.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So the Manitoba Real Estate Association spends a lot of time training members that, your online presence, it's very important. Yeah. What you say on a comment, what you click on a like, just be mindful of.
Yeah. I understand. How have you seen the industry change over the last? Has it changed, first of all, and second of all, where do you think it's going?
So I've been a realtor officially for 20 years, but for 45 years I've been watching the industry, right, with my dad. Yeah. When I started 20 years ago, it was very different, a lot more cutthroat. You couldn't trust the person sitting next to you. Okay, there was. People would walk in, other realtors, they know you're working on a listing. They'd get there before you could get there and they'd sign it up and walk out with a contract. Times have changed, right? Over time, it's evolved. Okay. Professionalism has grown. The way a brokerage has its office culture has really changed, whether you're bricks and mortar or, you're a cloud-based.
Yeah.
So office culture has changed. The way we work with our peers, the way brokers run their brokerages, the way we offer training, it's really evolved fast. Social media, technology play a huge factor in it. When I started 20 years ago, we used to carry pagers. And we had these little chunky pagers that would beep to return a phone call. Yeah. Smartphones, we had a cell phone, right? 20 years ago. It was a Nokia, whatever it was called. Yeah. Got a flip phone. I didn't get my first camera phone until 2008 or 9, right? Around that time. Yeah. Now you can run an entire company on your phone, right? Back then it's really changed. So technology has helped us. We've become more efficient. We've evolved a lot better. Yeah. But the basics of real estate have not changed. And that is a human to human relationship. Yeah. You still got to physically view the house at some point. Yeah. Or the property that you're buying. Yeah. We have virtual tours. We have video tours. They help out in marketing. And during the pandemic, yes, we pivoted fast. We were selling properties with virtual tours. Buyers would buy them, right?
Was that mostly through Matterport, or are there other things that you
Matterport was one of the large ones, but just on your phone, we'd walk through with like a live Facebook video. Yeah. People are using Snapchat. They're making videos and sending them via WhatsApp. Nice. And buyers would look and say, can you touch the counters and tell me what it feels like. Questions like that.
Okay.
We did $1 million sale that way, right in the pandemic, nice. Right? One of my own listings.
Yeah.
We walked through, the buyers from Ottawa. Just did a walkthrough, wrote the offer, and good to go.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
When I look at kind of the core competencies, in most businesses, I try to, and I really think about like what makes people better than their peers. Where do you push people to really, and I know that REMAX, or this is what I've heard, is that REMAX is probably the most, you guys push the most training. Now, I don't know if that's true, but that's just what I've heard, in that there are realtors that their job is negotiation and sales, and they don't study negotiation and sales. So as a broker owner, how much are you focused on pushing people to, like, is that up to them? Is there quotas that you guys have to reach?
Okay, so for education and training, every year we have what's called relicensing education. So continuing education, right? That's industry changes, rules and regulations, best practices, and it's based on complaints. So the MREA will track complaints, and if they see a common thread, they say, this is a topic that we got to teach. So it's in class and it's an online portion of teaching. That's from the regulator, right? So that's industry.
Okay.
Each brokerage has their own system and style of training. REMAX, so right now in the city, we have different REMAX brokerages. Everybody has their own onboarding process, training. For a new agent, I offer one-on-one mentorship and training. So you get 90 days one-on-one with a mentor who's going to take you from the starting point of how to respond to a text, how to pick up your phone, things like that, that you're not taught in real estate training, like in your modules, to when the offer comes in, what to do, how to read the offer. So we do that for new agents. What I do is every couple months we host every week. So we'll run it for 9 weeks or 10 weeks at a time. We call it coffee chat, where basically we sit around, we have coffee, and we chat. I bring a box of donuts, and I have topics that we're going to cover. So for example, GST, and real estate sales, land sales, how to broker them, how to look at the new foreign buyer ban when it came into effect. Right? So topics that are relevant in real estate. And we get about 15 to 20 agents that'll come out. We host it at our Lorimer office because it's a bigger boardroom, and we're there for about 2 to 3 hours. So we start off with questions and answers. I do a presentation with a PowerPoint. Agents are taking notes, and then we do question and answer. Hey guys, what's happening in your lives? What's happening in your business? Best practices. Agents learn best by discussion, we found.
That GST has got me.
GST gets times.
It's the most confusing
thing. For everybody.
And I don't even know if the CRA knows, right? You talk to different people in the CRA and each of them. So I can imagine that the plethora of issues you get. So people coming in, like let's say you're talking to the 18-year-old Akash, and he knows he wants to go into real estate. What's something that people can either prepare for, or what's a route that you would say is kind of the most, where they can prep themselves the best for being successful coming in as a new realtor?
So coming in as a new realtor, kind of younger, I'll just kind of put that, a younger realtor out there, will be to learn to be patient, learn to be realistic. And you have to prove to people, your buyers and sellers, why they're going to trust their largest purchase or sale of their asset to you. So the question is, why am I going to use you? Why am I going to use your services? And when somebody can understand that, what makes them different, what brings them to the table, we have energy, you have passion for the business, right? Yes, you're going to earn a commission. That's going to be the end result. But at the beginning of it, you have to understand the basics. So for somebody new, younger, coming into the business, my advice is understand what it means to be a realtor, which a lot of it involves relationship marketing, having, maintaining relationships with people, networking. Those are very important. But of course, learning the basics of real estate, learning the basics of sales.
Right.
It's very important.
What do you mean by realistic?
So when I interview new to the industry members, I always ask them I give them a list of questions. I say, here's what we're going to talk about. Please prepare.
Yeah.
And I always ask the number one question, why do you want to be a realtor? And I've heard everything you can imagine, but I know what the answer is, right?
I want to drive a Mercedes.
Yeah, exactly. And I just tell them, you know what, that's fine. You know, let's just be honest with each other. Yeah. You want the money, that's fine, no problem. But there's a system and you have to go step by step. I've seen people that want to jump really fast, and I've seen them in the industry and they're gone because you can't maintain a successful or a steady source of business if you try to jump too fast and cut corners.
Short-term thinking.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
You have to go from the bottom up.
Right.
And the other things that, you know, I tell people is that you have to, realistic thinking is if you go step by step, if you come to me and say in year one, I'm going to do 50 sales, I'll say, great. If you can do 5 in a year, I'll be happy. In fact, I'll give you Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
And they look at me, and because a lot of people see it on TV right now, you have so much media out there, right? A lot of it's fake. A lot of it's staged.
Yeah.
Right. But reality is, if you can understand the basics step by step,
right,
you're good.
I guess that's pretty true, because what TV has done for my profession, when I think of yours as well, you know, you have selling Sunset or selling all these other places there. And I imagine it's done the exact same thing. It's kind of given unreal expectations.
Well, what happens, I get a phone call from somebody.
Yeah.
And it says, you know, they'll page me at the office and receptionist will send it out. Contact so-and-so looking to join, you know, the brokerage. Yeah. No problem. I'll make a phone call. How's it going? We'll have a talk. And some of the key words that I hear back will determine if we're even going to have an interview.
Okay.
And a lot of times we won't even get that far. Meaning, if you're going to work at my brokerage at REMAX, you're representing my brand. You're representing REMAX.
Yep.
In my mind, I have a standard of what I'm expecting.
That's right.
And that's why I send them a list of questions for them to prepare. I'll see how they show up to the interview. I've had people show up like they're dressed to go to the beach. And I've had people show up in a 3-piece suit. Right? This is a job interview.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking, do I want to work with you and be your broker? And, you know, sometimes people have the idea that they're doing me a favor by working at my brokerage. I say, okay, great. You know, sometimes the interview is over within a minute. Sometimes it's 3 hours and we're still going and we're handling questions.
Yeah.
And then if I like them, you're getting an offer to join.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So what year did you become your first owner of your office?
2015. I bought it like as a stage buy-in.
Okay.
So 2015 is when we bought our first batch of shares, and then 2017 we took it over.
So what was the hardest part of coming in, buying those, versus what the hardest part is now?
Oh, that's a good question. So my journey started in 2014, becoming an owner. I was at a conference, a REMAX conference in Vancouver. I met somebody who owned a number of brokerages.
Yep.
And we were chatting and talking, and he asked me, he goes, "Oh, are you an owner?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, why not?" He said, "You know, your conversations are very intelligent." And he said, "You sound like you're an owner." I said, "No." So it got me thinking, and I said, I'm kind of bored. I want to do something else. And I talked to the folks, to the 2 owners of my brokerage. And I said, "Hey, did you ever think about selling the brokerage?" They said, "Let's talk." So we sat down, we had a coffee, and we talked about it and said, what's out there and what's happening in the industry and what my interests were. And they said to me at that time, "Get your broker's license and let's talk." So I got my broker's license, took me a year, finished it. And then they got me on as a manager. And that's when I bought my first tranche of shares. And we agreed on the price and the formula, because buying a brokerage, you're really buying air. Like, there's no asset, right? Yeah. And unless you have, a building attached.
Okay.
So we figured out a formula, figured out a mechanism on how to buy each tranche of shares based on EBITDA. And basically from there, year 1, lots of learning. And it's a crash course. And then year 2, a lot more. And then at year 3, we basically decided, it was a 4-year buy-in. We just said at year 3, we're just going to buy you out entirely. And they were happy and we were happy.
Yeah.
And then from there, we took the brokerage. We had 3 offices at that time, and we took the brokerage in another direction and accelerated growth and accelerated market share.
Okay.
Yeah, which were very important to me.
Starting a new one versus buying one over.
Sure.
Why did you decide to take over executives?
So we looked at the numbers, and then we looked at the time it's going to take to build up a brokerage to get it to a certain profitable level of state. So I have a friend who's a senior commercial lender, and he understands these type of businesses.
Yeah.
Basically, you know what? He's like, you're in the relationship business. That's all you're really buying, is you're buying an existing business. But of course, you have to take it to another level. So we looked at the numbers of opening up brand new, the cost of a franchise, setting up an office. So, your TIs that you're going to put in, hiring and training staff, and then hiring and recruiting realtors to work with you. And why are they going to want to work with you?
Yeah.
Right. So you can have a brand, but really the broker is going to be very important. Then we looked at, look where we are. We have a strong office. We have some key agents that are still doing very well right now from what I bought. Yeah. And we looked at that, and then we figured out, let's take this and grow it even further. So we looked at both avenues. I said, one is going to be a lot less money, but it's going to take a lot longer time versus buying something already running, and let's just accelerate it.
Yeah. And you have the relationships of the past owners. And
that's right. And it was a natural fit. When we took over, we had a few people leave, and that was normal. We were expecting that.
Yeah.
And then from there, we grew. And it took me some time to gain and earn the respect of my realtors that were there, because they'd come to me, and the first thing they're going to look and say, well, you're a competing broker. Why am I working here? I had to prove that to them. Yeah. And to this day, right, we send out surveys. I always check in with my realtors. Everybody's happy. They say, Akash, you got our back. Yeah. And it took a while, right? But I had to build up their trust.
Right.
And everybody's happy.
Yeah. You're 8 years in now. Mm-hmm. What's the hardest part of owning a brokerage?
The hardest part, I can say, is probably going to be the time management, because just like a realtor, you're on. Mm-hmm. Right? You're on all the time. Now, some of my agents will be calling me. They'll start off with a text. Hey, boss, you got a second? I always joke. I'm like, always, right? Yeah. And for it can be, for you, anytime. Yeah. 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m. I've even had the midnight ones. So sorry to bother you. By chance, are you up? I'm working on a deal. Real estate is typically, evenings and weekends, because that's when people are looking or, working on properties, right? Yeah. Around the client's schedule.
That's right.
But sometimes they need help. I like complicated, weird deals because I'll come up with a solution. And if I can't come up with a solution, I say, give me a few hours, I'll get it to you. And so the only challenge would be is probably the time management of knowing when you have to turn off.
Yeah.
Right. So but at least it's a text that comes.
So that's kind of like the question of balance and family time or Akash time, or just, when you can shut off kind of thing.
Yeah. Like, when I'm training at the gym, I'll have my headphones on, I have it on Do Not Disturb.
Yeah. But
if I know an agent is working on a deal and they say, hey, Akash, tomorrow morning I might need your help, I'll make sure I get their call.
Yeah.
Right. But again, it's not often. A lot of my realtors, they're seasoned. Right. So they're not asking me simple questions. When I know they have a question to ask me, it's something that they need help with.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm there for.
Yeah. Yes. I remember watching your social, because you were squatting like 500 pounds more than I was at the time. Are you still working out hard?
So squat, bench, and dead, right? 3 key things. With age, now shoulders and joints are hurting, but I still make it out, and I'm still with my trainers, but we just got to fix my diet.
Yeah. No, I hear you. That's a tough part.
Yeah.
So in speaking about that, where now with everything that's going on, because you're into residential, commercial, there's developments, there's training, there's the brokerage side. Where do you have to put your focus? Where do you put your focus most of the time?
So I've learned one trick, and that's made me successful in all the endeavors and all the projects I'm in right now. Is I'm focused on doing one thing at one time.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Right? And I've learned to cut out the clutter. I've learned to just, if a call's coming in, I've learned to just put on do not disturb, or I'll call you back. If I'm doing something, I need to focus on it, right? I have many projects on the go, a lot of things that I've got in the pipeline, but I want to be focused. You can't be two places at once. And that includes mentally and physically.
Even in your mind, yeah.
Even in your mind.
Yeah. I've noticed that about myself, is that the times when I let that principle go is the times when I feel worst.
Yeah.
Like the absolute worst, both emotionally, mentally, I feel cluttered, clouded, like just, I feel really shitty because I'm kind of doing a shitty job at all of the things that I'm doing.
Well, it includes even time with my kids, right? Being present. And so my wife and I, when we have our family time, phones are off. I say, we're going to watch Star Wars. Turn the phones off. Yeah. We're just nerding out. Like, that's what we're going to do, my son and I. Or my daughter and I, she loves to train. She's like, let's go to the gym.
Nice.
Right? We'll go together.
Yeah.
Or if it's like, date night, for Nito and I, like, phones off. I need like at least 2 hours. Yeah. Right. But being present, I think that's the most important thing. Just learning that, it's not the deal's not gonna fall apart. They can wait 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's fine.
How old are the kids?
12 and 15, sorry.
Whew. They're there.
Yeah.
Wow. Mine are still young. Mine are 9 and 3.
And you have one on the way.
35 weeks pregnant. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
She's about to pop. So things are going to get interesting again. Are you a routine guy?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
What's your daily routine?
6-ish a.m.
Okay.
I wake up, don't have an alarm. It's just internally.
What time do you go to bed?
Honestly, between 11, 12, sometimes 1.
Yeah.
Depending. Yeah. And my wife and I, we have a routine at nighttime. Once the kids are in bed, we love to watch Seinfeld or The Office or Superstore.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah. Superstore is
and
pretty good too.
We just laugh for like an hour, kind of decompress, because she's got a very stressful job as well.
Yeah. What does she do?
She's a Department of Justice.
Okay.
Area director, and just want to decompress, and we just laugh for an hour. That's okay. Time to wrap up. Go to bed.
Yeah. We do that with stand up.
Okay.
Love stand up.
Yeah.
Love rumors. All that. So I want to kind of finish off with not finish off, but dive into realty a bit more.
Sure.
Who is your ideal client?
As a realtor working in my brokerage. Yeah. So I won't call them a client. I mean, we're co-workers, right? So as a broker and as a member. Yeah. Okay. The ideal person walking in is somebody who's hungry, who's focused, and wants to do better than where they are.
Okay.
Right. So when I have a brand new member that comes in, we have a system, and I've kind of got a mentoring and a system of year 1, year 2, year 3 of what their business will look like.
Yeah.
But when somebody joins me from another brokerage, either they finished year 1, 2, 3, or they're 5, 6 years in the business, the first question I ask them is, why are you here? Right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times they'll have a story, which is fine. And most of the stories that I've had or experiences at Akash, I want to do better. I want to take my business to the next level.
Yeah.
So I'm a strategist. I'm one-on-one. I don't host, 10, 20, 30 person sessions. I like to do one-on-one or small groups.
Yeah.
And from there, I say, where are you? What's holding you back? What's the problem? Now let's give you some solutions. Let's give you some resources, and let's take it to the next level. So somebody who's dedicated, hungry, meaning they want to do better, and a professional, right? Absolutely. You fit into my my page there, and I'll do whatever I have to do to help you get there.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes
I've
sense.
had people that show up as well, and when they call it a game, like, this is not a game. Being a realtor, you're a professional. You have ethics. You have a code that you have to follow. And when they're using that terminology and I'm getting in the game and we're going to be killing it, I'm like, that's great. However, please don't call it a game. It's a profession.
Yeah.
Right. Now, when I hear it for the third time, then I say, I think we're not right for each other.
Yeah.
It's
Interesting.
time to move on. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you approach business development? So I imagine that it's been different kind of on every stage or every evolution that you've gone through, but marketing and sales, or say advertising and marketing, Have they changed throughout, from when you've been going from you're marketing yourself and now you're marketing yourself and your brokerage, and potentially even other developments that you're associated with? How do you approach marketing and advertising?
So marketing is very important. And right now we have a huge push on social media for the brokerage. So we have a very talented social media team in-house.
Okay.
They,
how long have they been part?
They're now with us for just over 3 years.
Okay.
And, we initially I was doing the social media and I'm not good at it. I mean, I'm okay with it, but I couldn't keep up. I had no consistency.
Yep.
So my partner and I, Amit, he said, Akash, I have somebody, let's interview them. Let's talk to them.
Okay.
And they were working with a few other realtors. And then we said, look, here's our vision, what we want to do. I said, the purpose of having our social media presence for REMAX Executives Realty is to have a presence that's going to get attention and get eyeballs on it, not for lead generation. I don't want people clicking and saying, I want to join your brokerage because of this. No, it's not the purpose. I want to do something different. And we scoured across, all of the brokerages in Manitoba and other parts of Canada, picked out things what we like, what we don't like. And so we put a team together. So social media marketing is important for our brokerage to give us a presence online. And then we have traditional marketing, right? So REMAX is still out there. We spend a ton of money for billboards, wrapping buses. We have hats. We do a lot of stuff, a lot of swag you'll get, but also we'll have event nights, right? Like we have a big sign up at the stadium, right? For the Bombers. So we have a group advertising fund where REMAX is still out there in the public to stay top of mind.
Nice. Is there anything that you failed miserably at?
Ooh, I don't use the word failure. I call them lessons.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, I have a book of lessons I've learned. Yeah. And it could be between, in a transaction, I missed something. Mm-hmm. It could be a lesson that I dropped the ball on something. I've had lessons, life lessons, in the brokerage, as a realtor, in my previous businesses, in my other businesses. What's important is, you have other people working with you, working for you, but at the end of the day, you're still responsible for you, right? So and I know like some of your other guests on the podcasts, all of us are control freaks. Not gonna lie, right?
Well, that's generally your owners, your your executives, your type A's, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But knowing when to kind of let others do their thing, but you're still responsible. So just making inquiries, double checking if you want.
Trust and verify.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I always tell people, I just want a cake. I'm not going to tell you how to cook it. I just want a cake. But I agree with you 100% that there's a line there as far as how much to oversee, micromanage versus, how much can you trust? And that is you give a little, you give a little more, you give a little more, you give a little more. Do you find that, so you're based here, do you get a lot of out of town? Is there anything that you do out of Winnipeg? Do you have a lot of clients that are out of Winnipeg? What does that look like? So
I got 3 answers for that.
Okay.
One, as a realtor, yes, I have referrals for somebody moving to Winnipeg or, Winnipeg moving out. So I just recently did one for London, Ontario. We had a client here, they're relocating. We sold their property. They're moving to London. I set them up with a realtor out there. They called me the first day they got there and said, Akash, this person's phenomenal. He's just like you. Nice. Great.
Yep.
And so we have some referrals that go back and forth. The second is within my brokerage. So I signed the checks and so does Amit, my business partner. And we see who's got the referrals coming in and out and where they're coming from.
Yep.
And we see them. They're very social. They travel to a lot of the conventions. So REMAX has a lot of conferences across Canada and the US, and they're there to network and they meet people.
Yeah.
Right. So they've got money flowing back and forth, and there's a lot of money in referrals. Yeah. And third is recently I just got involved in a project in Kenora for condos.
Nice.
And so I've obviously, as an investor, I'm looking at, Winnipeg. I love Winnipeg. Yeah. I have a lot of projects on the go here, but in Kenora, recently we just got involved with one out there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you find that there is a big difference So if you are dealing with clients in Winnipeg versus you're dealing with clients from, say, any of the big metros, Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary, and moving here, do you notice a difference in those clients at all?
Yes, absolutely.
And what is it?
So their mindset, right? So in I'll use the word quote unquote bigger cities, Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary, kind of the metro cities. They have different terminology. They have different expectations of the realtor. They have different expectations in their negotiating style, in price points. Right. So when people look at Winnipeg and the first question they ask is, why is it so cheap here? I'm like, well, it's all relative. You got to remember the supply and demand. Right. But a lot of people coming in from Ontario, and we have a lot of investors in Manitoba, in Winnipeg, right? From Ontario, from Alberta, from BC, from Saskatchewan, everywhere. And a lot of them are land banking. A lot of people look at land differently here.
Interesting.
Right? I sell a lot of land, right? Industrial, farmland, right? Commercial, big pieces, small pieces. So having an understanding and asking them, like, what is your goal? If somebody wants to just land bank, great. If they're looking for speculation and want to flip it, well, I mean, yeah, if there's a bylaw coming up, or if there's a change in zoning, if there's, for example, you have an industrial piece and then there's going to be a lot more growth happening. Yeah, you might want to assemble some of the land around there. It might be important one day. Right. So a lot of people from out of town, I found, have a different mindset towards investing. A lot more aggressive. A lot more aggressive.
You mentioned that they may have different expectations from their realtors. Have you noticed like a consistent difference between realtors here and elsewhere? Like, what are the expectations?
So majority of let's just break it down into residential. So what I've seen from the residential side, if a family's relocating to Winnipeg, they're going to ask questions about the schools, about transit, what kind of people are living there, what's the walkability? Within 15 minutes, can I walk to get groceries?
You're like 6 months of the year. Yes.
Well, we tell them
the other 10 months.
Exactly. Yeah. So some of the questions around, quote unquote, the 15-minute city, right? Or what they call it right now. I mean, Winnipeg, you can go from, the southern tip to the northern tip through downtown in an hour with, construction and rush hour. Without rush hour, 35 minutes, 40 minutes, right? So it's not that big of a difference for us. But for somebody coming in from, say, Brampton, moving to Winnipeg, right? They're like, where's all the people? Well, hey, this is it. Right?
What is something that you believe in the industry that kind of goes against the standard? It could be a strategy. It could be, a lie that you never bought into, or just where you're taking your brokerage and you see that being the biggest difference between yourself and the rest of the industry.
So I can say one thing is that I have blinders on. There's a lot of chatter, and there's always chatter in every industry. And there's every industry will have disruptors, right? REMAX was a disruptor, a number of years ago when they came onto the landscape here. So disruption is always going to happen, right? And there's different business models. Okay, so a business model could be a traditional model. It could be, bricks and mortar, or it could be a cloud-based model. Absolutely. It's every person out there has a different need and a want, and some models will serve that and some won't. So I typically have blinders on, and I've always had blinders on my entire life, all through high school, all through university. I just stay in my lane. I look at my business plan, and with my business partners, right? We sit down and we evaluate. What are we doing? Where do we want to be? What is our vision, mission? What is our culture, office culture that we want? If somebody else is doing something different, great, do it. We're not going to bend over just for that. When my agents come and say, hey, Akash, this is what so-and-so is doing, or this is what that brokerage is doing, I say, that's cool. That's great. Maybe I'll explore it, but I don't think it's going to fit with what we want to do.
Right.
And that's fine.
To go along with values, and both your personal life and in business and dealing with associates and stuff like that, how do you think about balance when it comes to, say, personal money, family, faith? How does faith play in your life?
So I can honestly say from experience, realtors are the worst at balancing and managing their own money. So I recommend to my members all the time, like, make sure you're getting financial advice for your personal finances.
Why do you think that is? You see that often.
I see it often. Realtors are great at one thing. That's closing sales, right? That's the greatest. And it doesn't matter where in Canada, in the US, or where around the world you are.
Yeah.
I always ask brokers the same question, like, what is your one frustration as a broker or manager? And they just say, oh, paperwork. Like, yeah, it is a frustration. I mean, the paperwork eventually comes in from realtors. That's fine. But managing their own finances I found is just interesting, where some will overspend, spend money they don't have, and some are very conservative.
Yeah.
So finding what works for you. You're not taught these lessons when you're becoming a realtor. And a lot of people, once they move from one career to another and then become a realtor, they don't have that training, right? So money management is probably one of the most important things. And I always recommend to all my realtor friends and even members of my brokerage, buy rental properties. Buy properties, buy and hold. If you don't need to sell it, don't sell it, right? Hey, we're in the business.
Yeah.
Right.
What is something so are you born in Winnipeg?
Born and raised. Yeah.
What is it that has kept you in Winnipeg? What do you love about Winnipeg that in all of this time you've weathered the storm, figuratively and every winter? What keeps you in Winnipeg?
So I love the 4 full seasons that we have. Now, I'm born and raised here. My wife, she's born and raised here. We both love Winnipeg.
Yeah.
It's a small, big city, right?
Yep.
It's small enough where you can grow fast, right? If you need to get a hold of somebody, you can find them.
Yeah.
Right. So that's one aspect of it. But I just like the fact that there's a good sense of community here. I visit Vancouver, Toronto, Calgary. I visit big cities all the time in the US and Canada. The minute I'm on the landing strip from the plane back to Winnipeg, I'm happy. It's home, right? So to me, this is home. I've had many opportunities to move to another city, right? I've had out west, especially. We have a lot of family out there.
Yeah.
And we chat often, right? They're all in real estate. And when we compare what our lives are like, our commutes are like, the cost of living, affordability, right? I've brought back family members here. I'm like, listen, the grass is greener in Winnipeg for one season at least, right?
Yeah.
But when you compare dollar to dollar, you get more value here.
I completely agree with you. And it's just big enough to feel big, but small enough to not be overwhelming or distance the people, right? Like we're only probably 1 degree of separation.
Absolutely.
From everyone.
Exactly. Yeah. And the other thing about Winnipeg or Manitoba in general is we haven't hit our potential yet. There's so much potential here in Manitoba. There's a lot of talent. There's a lot of opportunity, right? When people are looking and saying, well, I'm going to leave because I want to move to San Francisco. I want to move to Vancouver. I want to move to Toronto because of better opportunities. Sure. You can get a career. You can get a job out there if you want, right? But in your own backyard here, there's so much talent. There's so much opportunity. I attend a lot of networking events and I meet some very interesting people.
Okay.
And I ask them the same question. I'm like, oh, hey, if they move to Winnipeg, why? Oh, you know what? I had a good opportunity to move here. I moved here because of family. Or a lot of my friends who are in investing and developers, they just said, look, we came here, we started buying properties, we saw the returns, we never looked back.
Where do you think our biggest potential for growth is?
I think right now in construction, we have land, and right now we're still horizontal. Other cities are vertical, right? There's a shortage of available land. Yes, there is a process to rezone and to develop land, but there's still a lot of growth happening here. Centerport, huge opportunity still. I don't think it's tapped yet. Right. So, yes, in the trucking industry, transportation industry has taken a little bit of a hit right now, right? Because of supply chain issues and overall economy. But we're perfectly centrally located for that.
Right.
$1 billion industry. Right. right? So a lot of growth I still think is going to happen in Winnipeg and Manitoba.
What do you think the biggest issue or issues are that are stymieing that growth?
I think a lot of it, to be very straightforward, it's in our own heads. When I see people say, well, there's no opportunity for a builder, no opportunity for a realtor, no opportunity for a business person to set up shop here. I say, well, compared to what?
Yep.
Right? I look at a lot of the newcomers coming to Winnipeg, right? They don't know and they don't care. They're setting up shop. Look how many Punjabi East Indian restaurants have opened up. They're busy.
Yeah.
And you look at the population numbers compared to other cities, we're a fraction of what they have. But relatively with our restaurants, they keep growing. And we're getting a lot of calls. Hey, Akash, I want to open up a restaurant. I'm like, all right, what's your business plan? They have a business plan in place.
Yeah.
Right. So there's opportunity here. I just say you have to get out of your own head sometimes and just do it.
Yeah. What have been the biggest influences in your life? Or, mentors, books, places, people? So
2 things. One of the most memorable books I've ever read is How to Win Friends and Influence People, right? I've got the audiobook. I read it. My book is all marked up everywhere, right?
Yeah.
I love Dale Carnegie. I like to read books, right? Actually, when I met you in 2013, 2014, with one of our property sales, you showed me your library and I said, okay, I got to build a library like that. Yeah. Second is my dad. So my dad's a realtor. He's a business owner. He's in development. And one thing he taught me from the very beginning was be upfront and honest. Rather you tell the truth and you sleep at night than you're sleeping with one eye open.
Yeah.
And that's helped him in his business and it's helped us grow as realtors.
Yeah.
Right. We'd rather do our due diligence, make sure we've learned everything we can and just be upfront. Yeah. Right. So he came from an era of realtors back in the 80s and 90s where that wasn't the case always.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. It'd be very different to be bucking that trend back then too. I'd have to agree with you. There's nothing that I agree with you more on than the importance of transparency and honesty when it comes to not only business, but your life, right? Even in your own life, it's sleeping very well versus one eye open. You also don't have to remember what you've said because you're always, You know what?
So my partner Amit, we manage together, and we can tell when someone's lying to us, right? Because you're right, the story changes. Yeah. Whether it's a member of the public who's complaining, or one of our realtors, or another realtor, right, about somebody. Yep. And sometimes we'll ask the same question twice. Just like when you're getting an eye test done, they say 1 or 2, 3 or 4. Yeah. They're trying to see if they can trip you up a bit.
That's right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
We are July 11th, 2023. So 2 things. How is the state currently of residential in Winnipeg? Are we going up? Are we going down? What do you see? And then we'll talk about commercial after.
Sure. So right now in the residential market, I'm going to use the word balanced market. Okay. And out there. And that's good. Right now, remember, for the past 2 years, we've seen headlines. We've seen social media posts of, I had 20 offers on my house. I had 15. I was in a bidding war. I spent $100,000 over list. Yeah. That was a different time. Yeah. My advice to everybody is just delete those last 2 years out of your head. Okay. You have to. Yeah. Numbers are coming back to normal. CMHC is watching the trends. The Canadian Real Estate Association, they're watching the numbers very closely, right? So we have to factor in inflation. We have to factor in a lot of different things of what's involved in the real estate market, right? The economy, right? Inflation, the stress test. There's so much stuff happening out there. So for realtors, my advice to them is, when you're pricing out a property, make sure your numbers make sense for today's market. You have to know the market. If you're a buyer in the market, do your homework. You're going to be in this home for at least 5 years. We don't know what the next 5 years are going to bring. There could be some policy changes with the Bank of Canada. Yep. There could be OSFI changes. I mean, there's a lot of different things that can happen. There could be changes with bylaws. Immigration. Yeah. Right? So there's so much happening. Yes, we have the foreign buyer ban right now, right? It's going to be lifted soon, there'll be a change in the market again coming up.
Yeah.
So the state of residential real estate in Manitoba, especially Winnipeg, I'd use the word balanced.
Okay.
Number of buyers are almost equal to the number of sellers.
So a normal absorption rate.
A normal absorption rate. Average is 45 days on the market. 50 days, that's normal, right? We just got used to this 5 days, 6 days, 20 offers.
Yeah.
That was not sustainable.
How much do you look at the Canadian economy versus how our neighbors to the south are decidingly trying to ruin their country with their dollar? I know that, so I've always looked at it and thought we're always behind, right? We're behind by, 5 to 10 years really on some of the big changes between the States and Canada. We have a tighter banking. All of our policies are tighter. Our mortgage stuff is tighter, so we don't crash as hard. We don't. We have a more controlled banking system, and then even more micro. Winnipeg is such a diverse economy. We're not a boom and bust. We have so many different sectors. So it's almost like Canada is a little more protected from the States. Winnipeg is even a little more protected than the rest of Canada. Do you notice much fluctuations? Do we look at bigger trends? Like if the, in 2018 during the 2008 meltdown, stuff like that, how much do you look at that and think about it?
Sure. So the US is our biggest neighbor. I mean, they're our neighbor, right?
They're a bigger brother.
They're a big machine.
Yeah.
But the biggest difference between the US and Canada, our mortgages are typically 5-year terms. And then you go back and you renegotiate.
Yeah.
You renew your mortgage.
Yeah.
You have equity. The US, they're in. So when you get a mortgage, you're there for 30 years.
30-year terms.
30-year terms.
Not just amortization.
Exactly.
Periods. Yeah.
Right. So so basically they're in that mortgage forever is how they look at it. They look at us and say, wait a minute, every 5 years, you guys refinance your house? I'm like, yeah. Or your property? Typically, yes. Right. That's a big factor. Right. So meaning when they're selling a property and if they're locked in a lower rate, they're actually selling the house or their condo or whatever, and they're selling
that mortgage.
And then they're not going to get it back. So that's why the US is in such a mess right now with undersupply. People are saying, I don't want to sell my property because, hey, I'm in a low mortgage. I'm going to hit 6% or 7%.
Yep.
Right. So what we've seen is there's different incentives right now. So their number of building permits has increased overall in the US.
Okay.
Right. It's getting some steam and it's growing. And again, they have a lot of immigration happening as well. Right. But in Canada, I think we're a bit insulated. And one good thing about CMHC and OSFI is that they control. I don't use the word control freaks, but they're very tight. And I think it's for good. It's for the best for us in our best interests. Right? Yes, we're trying to bring inflation down. We're trying to change our buying habits. Right? That's one of the big factors of raising interest rates. And I think we're going to have another rate increase tomorrow. But there's a reason for it, right? So the US, it's a different position in real estate. They have more realtors than the number of transactions. And that's a bit of a challenge, right? So activity is really off.
Yeah. Winnipeg commercial. How are we looking there?
So my understanding so far is good. Over the last 2 weeks, I've been looking and seeing what's happening, what's moving. We still have property moving, right? We don't have a dead commercial industry at all. It's busy. If you try to buy a strip mall today, good luck. Right. Even in a slowing economy, people think that, hey, I can pick this up. No, you can't. Right. There's still very desirable properties, desirable property types. Rents are still increasing, right? So your return on investment for a duplex, for multifamily, for an apartment, they're still good, right? There's definitely good return on your investment.
So there's still cash flowing. People aren't buying them in a negative position, just hoping that things will turn around.
Now, in other parts of Canada, yes, you are buying in a negative position.
Right.
You have to fund each month out of your own pocket, because a lot of investors are banking on equity.
Right.
We don't do that here.
And appreciation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been an interesting ride looking at the Winnipeg market, kind of, especially in our subsections. Like we have so many micro economies when you look at, say, Tuxedo versus the North End, or, every Lindenwoods, it's its own like little thing, right? So it's an interesting city to live in.
Well, it is. And, every area has something unique about it and wonderful about it. I love going to Transcona. You go up and down Regent, right? You don't need to cross Lagimodier. Like, you're there on Regent. Everything is there, right?
That's true. Yeah.
We always joke about that. There's some realtors I know now, they'll say, I don't want to cross Portage Avenue. I'm going to stay north or I'm going to stay south.
Yeah.
Great. I'll send the referral over there. And I joke and I say, listen, it's a 15-minute drive.
Send it by pigeon. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Are there any areas that are hotter than others right now?
Well, I mean, Waverly West, right? Bridgewater's always got a lot of activity. Sage Creek has good activity. Bonavista Vista has activity.
And that's after the building's done.
After the building's done,
most of those that you mentioned, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, River Heights has always got activity and movement happening.
Yeah.
So the number wise, yeah, I mean, what we've seen the slowdown is in the $900,000 plus range, right? When we go to luxury, $1.5 million, $2 million, we've seen a decline in the number of sales, right? And it's probably at about half right now, just because of the buyer, right? I mean, if they're going to be higher down payment, different mortgage product, they're going to be in a different buying position, right? But what we've seen, though, the trend, so June 2023 year to date versus June 2022 year to date, we're off about 22% in the number of transactions on the MLS, for residential property types. But we're only off about 7.8% in the sale price. So that's showing that we're holding pretty well.
Yeah.
In this.
Interesting.
Yeah.
When you talked about $1 million, $2 million, is that both building and just resales? So
I'm just looking at MLS data.
Okay.
Right? So MLS data will be what's on the MLS.
Right. Would those go through the land transactions?
So I won't be analyzing sales through land titles.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, and I know a lot of multi-million-dollar homes don't hit the MLS. Right. Because I speak to some of the big builders out there, and I'm always asking, like, what are you doing? What are you building? And they'll tell me, gosh, $4 million over there, $5 million over here, and I'll tour around.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, those won't hit the MLS.
That's right. Yeah. Hopefully for many years to come, right? What do you do for fun?
That's a good question.
I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. I like to listen to a lot of podcasts, right? So my hobbies back up until maybe a couple of years ago was I'd like to DJing. So I used to DJ in high school and university at socials.
My wife was a DJ.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. And so I'll put on my headphones. I have a set of turntables, Pioneer platter, right? It's a DDJ platter. And I'll just, make a couple mixes, like take 5-6 songs together, blend them in, do one song after the other. For me, that's relaxation.
Yeah. You'll have to send me some of those.
Sure.
I'm actually very interested.
Absolutely. I'm a 90s hip hop guy, right?
Oh, yeah. Is there anything else really? Right. There's no 2000s hip hop. No,
there's no 80s. No mumble rap or nothing, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can say that there's 80s hip hop, but like end of the 80s kind of thing.
Yeah.
End
of 80s to the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah. You knew that you were coming here. Absolutely crushed it. So I know that you kind of thought about it. Is there anything that I should have asked you that I didn't?
No, I mean, I'm an open book, right? One thing I do like to say this, and to all your listeners out there, if you ever have a question about real estate, want guidance or advice from a broker, I'm always open to help and give some guidance and advice. Yeah. I just say two things. If you're in the middle of a transaction, please do not tell me the property address and don't tell me the names of the people involved. And I'll give you some advice on it. And that's to other realtors as well. I'm like, I'm an open book. Got nothing to hide.
Yeah. How do people reach out? Where do they contact you? Where do they find you?
So on social media, DM me at Bedi Team on Instagram. My cell phone is always on, except for right now. I have it on mute, and I've disconnected my my Bluetooth, so my watch is not vibrating. Yeah. But yeah, 204-333-9544.
Okay.
Call, text, email. The email address is simple. I can give you one. Is 333-9544@gmail.com.
Okay.
Right. I mean, I've got my REMAX one, but yeah, if you have any questions, let me know.
Okay. Well, beautiful. Well, thank you. Thanks for taking us through that. You are the first realtor I've ever had on. We've known each other for a long time. You've been phenomenal in every transaction we've ever had. What I've really liked and admired about you is your transparency, your honesty. I don't feel like you're bullshitting me. Like that's what I said. There's very few realtors that I trust and that I really like and that get the results.
Right.
And, so that's just, I'm blown away every time we work together, and I'm very happy that you're coming on and sharing everything with us.
And I'll share this with you. When we first met, and you wanted to talk strategy, and you had a very unique property in a unique area, and the house didn't fit in that area, and it was in a bit of a down market. I had many challenges, so I said, you know what? I better do my homework, because I Googled you. I'm like, okay, who am I going to deal with here? What am I dealing with here? So I made sure I had a strategy in place. I made sure I understood everything. I made sure that, I looked at option A, option B, option C. And I still remember, I'm like, what kind of coffee does he drink? And it was a black Northern Pike, Starbucks.
That's right.
And I'm like, somebody's going to drink that. They're on their A game.
Yeah.
So that was always my first question. I always like to ask them, like, what is your drink? If somebody says, I don't drink coffee, that's cool. What do you drink? Tea? Great. They're going to be a bit more relaxed.
Yeah.
But somebody on a black coffee with the morning brew, they're on their A game. So I made sure. And that actually helped me grow my business. Right. So, I mean, that property was very unique, and I still have the photos, and I always look at it and I'm like, that was such a cool property, with the way it was connected, the duplex. And that helped me refine my systems, because I've done presentations to a lot of people, to some developers. I've worked with a condo project. I've worked with builders, right? Large and small builders, luxury builders. But this was a unique project, and that helped me elevate the way I run my business. So thank you.
You sold that thing December 16th.
Yes.
It's the middle of the winter. Blew me away, and I've been hooked ever since.
Well, thank you.
Okay, well, thanks so much.